Whoa, Nelly, let me tell you about aspiration.com. You can go to the head of the line by going to aspiration.com/TYT, and you don't have to wait on the wait list. There's free access to ATMs all across the world. There's no monthly service fee. I know, it just gets better, but 10% of their revenue goes to charity. I mean, it doesn't get any more lib than this, and no funding of political campaigns or industry lobbying. So if you were looking for a progressive place to put your money, I think we've got your answer for you, aspiration.com.
In the last week, a massive group of right-wing politicians and climate deniers and industry representatives and lobbyists all gathered in DC to talk about how dangerous the Green New Deal is. But more interestingly than that, why they're scared about the discussion about the Green New Deal. That is the fun part. But first, I want you to understand who was invited to this gathering to talk about climate change and what can, should, or must be done to deal with it. So it did not include any witnesses that represent the vast majority of climate scientists who say climate change is primarily caused by greenhouse gas emissions from human activity, nor did it include representatives from US government agencies that have drawn the same conclusions, such as NASA or NOAA. No independent scholars or researchers who specialize in energy systems are on the list. It was some right-wing politicians or climate deniers. It was people from the CEI, the Heritage Foundation, the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, and the American Energy Alliance. Gee, I wonder where their dog is in this fight. So they were talking about it. They had their equivalent of experts. And so let's talk about Myron Ebell, Director of Global Warming and International Environmental Policy at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, who said, one of the dangers of the Green New Deal is that, quote, by expanding the political spectrum of what's in the debate, it's moving the debate left. And it's creating a very large space for a certain class of people, many of them in the Republican Party, to start talking about how we need to have moderate solutions or reasonable solutions. And references were made to things like a carbon tax and cap and trade. Now, what's interesting about that is when we talk about why you need to go big and go bold with your proposals to shift the bounds of the debate, like not only are we making that case, and not only the past few months have been a demonstration of that on a number of different issues, including the Green New Deal, but the right is afraid that we're going to do that. And so that should provide more evidence for what we've been pushing for.
So I love this because it's a great admission that they're worried that the Green New Deal is going to work, even if it doesn't pass in its entirety, they're worried that it's gonna push not just Democrats, but even Republicans to support policies that would actually curb global warming and climate change. So I have to say it, and it's super obvious to everyone that doesn't live in Washington, D.C. Progressives were right and the establishment was wrong. Yet again, we told you that if you're bold and you have bold proposals to fix big problems, that it will push the conversation to the left, which in this case is getting a little closer to the center. Right? It's still massively right-wing overall, the conversation. But the establishment said, no, we don't want to offend Republicans. And so we should only do only fight for tiny incremental change because maybe they'll let us have that and we'll move the ball a couple of yards. Well, your strategy was wrong. Our strategy was right. Now the Republicans are in a panic that they've got to go further left. Is there a better testament to how right progressives were?
So why don't we turn to an example of that? If you guys get video 4 ready. So we're gonna have Mark Morano. He's the Director of Communications for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, which is, that's not even really Orwellian. That's just bizarre, that name. But anyway, he's worried about Republicans shifting on this position, as you'll see.
I myself have called it one big bowl of crazy. But it's a very dangerous plan because each Democratic presidential candidate is taking it as a litmus test. It has shifted the Democratic Party into serious, unscientific, nutty territory. The danger, I think, the greatest danger we face right now from the Green New Deal, and I think it was Myron who alluded to it, Myron Ebell, the CEI, is very simply Republican Party coming up with the Green New Deal light. And I think he's absolutely right. We need to oppose it and oppose it firmly. We don't need to come up with the light version of the plan. But this needs to be opposed fully, vigorously, scientifically, ideologically, and economically, and energy.
So he did make a mistake there. They are gonna have to come up with a new name for it though, because there's already a number of centrist Democrats that are trying to come up with Green New Deal light. But the Republicans will come up with something, don't worry about that.
Yeah, so there's 2 components to this story. One is, told you, now look at them in a panic. That's the fossil fuel industry going, Republicans don't go to the left. Oh no, they're going to the left. Oh no, they're going to the left. Why? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ed Markey, Bernie Sanders, who introduced this idea a long time ago, et cetera, et cetera. Progressives. Okay, second part of it is how funny they are. So first of all, the names, as John alluded to, Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow. It's actually a committee for no tomorrow. Like, man, let's just not have tomorrow.
Yeah.
Constructive tomorrow. 99% of the world's scientists say if we don't act within 12 years, the planet's gonna melt, okay? It's not a hyperbole, but it's a oversimplification. But yes, the climate change will get so bad, it'll have catastrophic consequences for the planet. And he's like, oh yeah, the science is on our side. The other side is nutty. So wait, let me get this right. The side that says 99% of the world's scientists, all colluded from India, China, Russia, US, everywhere. They all got it together and colluded to make up the temperature readings in the world and to make up the reasons for it. All the scientists in the world are lying. That side is not nutty. The side that thinks that there's a worldwide conspiracy of scientists is the part is not nutty, but the scientists themselves are nutty, crazy, believe in science. Reading the temperature, figuring out where it came from. Nutty.
They're just doing it for the money, as Bill Nye once said. Like, obviously, they're living high on the hog, these scientists. I once saw one driving a Toyota Corolla and it made me sick.
Meanwhile, these guys,
they really believe it.
These guys work for the most profitable companies in the world. They work for the fossil fuel industry, the oil companies, the Exxon Mobils that fund their research. Gee, I wonder who's working for the money. I can't quite tell.
Yeah.
I liked Myron Ebell's title too, Director of Global Warming. In his case, it's to make global warming happen. He is the director of global warming. So I think that they just put a fun twist on it. And the last person I want to talk about is Mandy Gunasekara. Sorry, don't know how to pronounce your name. You probably don't know how to pronounce mine. We're even. Okay, so she says that doing the Green New Deal would be doing, quote, Karl Marx's Christmas list. Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah, because Karl Marx knew climate change was gonna happen. If he did, he was actually smarter than I realized.
Like, okay. So we need more solar subsidies.
Okay, but that's not even the funny part. Here comes the funny part. So she was part of Trump's administration, of course, at the EPA. Okay, and she says, no, it's okay, we don't have to do anything because the United States' current standing and leadership on environmental issues today. Oh, we're leading? She says, we're doing it better than anyone else in the world. We're fighting climate change better than anyone else in the world. Now, you wanna get to the funny part here? She is the one who was called, quote, the chief architect of the Trump administration's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement. So we are now a worldwide pariah because we're the only ones not in the Paris Agreement. Well, did Syria join yet? Did North Korea join?
Yeah, I think it's 3 out.
Okay, yeah. Couple other dictator friends of Donald Trump and us are not with the rest of the world consensus. We're at the very bottom, okay? She's like, no, we're number one in fighting climate change. We're number one. I told Donald Trump to withdraw from that deal. That's what made us number one. By not fighting it at all, we're fighting it even better. She also orchestrated the repeal of the Obama era Clean Power Plan. By the way, this is all in our bio. And why does she put it in our bio while pretending to be caring about the issue? Because that's her ad for ExxonMobil to hire her. And in fact, she's now at a PAC funded by fossil fuel industry and the Koch brothers. What a shocker. But she's not doing it for the money, the scientists are. Last one, she's the person who handed the snowball to Jim Inhofe.
No, I didn't notice that actually. Wow.
We're number one in fighting climate change. Senator Inhofe, here's a snowball. Say it's snowing outside and we don't have climate change problem at all. Okay.
I want to read just 2 quick quotes from politicians who were there because it wasn't just lobbyists, some were politicians, and I want you to understand that as AOC and other progressive environmentalists are pushing, what is specifically going to be in the plan, I want you to understand the level of intellectualism that is going to come and counter you. So Representative Bob Bishop said, if this goes through, this will be outlawed, holding up a hamburger. I can no longer eat this type of thing. And then he started eating the hamburger. Because this is a sitting elected congressman who knows how how BS that argument is about the banning cows and all that. But just lie, just lie. And Representative Paul Gosar said, as the son of a geologist, our climate has always changed. And if you doubt me, go dig up some fossils. It'll tell you an awful lot about how our climate has changed. First of all, you don't need to be the son of a geologist to know that. You should know that from school. Like, you don't necessarily have to learn everything from your father, but what he's so close to understanding what's going on. You can actually dig up fossils and you can understand how the earth has changed. And when we go back and when we look to see when the atmosphere contained as many parts per million of carbon as it does right now, we know what the rest of the world looked like in terms of ocean levels and amount of sea ice and all of that. It is, you can do that. You can do the research you're implying there, and it is a horror story. But of course, he uses that as an invasion from actually doing anything. And let's just be really clear, as long as people like Paul Gosar and Rob Bishop have power, the default position on this in DC is it's too expensive to save our civilization. That's what it is. Like, maybe that sounds radical, but they really believe, no, it's just, we want the profits. It just sounds complicated. I don't really understand it. If that ends our civilization, if that creates tens of millions of climate refugees, if that floods, God knows how many cities and forces people to flee into the inland of the country, companies got to make money.
Now I got to end on fun Paul Gosar facts. He was one of the guys who was confused in the Michael Cohen hearings and did gotchas that weren't gotchas, and then got confused and befuddled. And
what would you call yourself? Was that him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and so that was hilarious. But more of a standout piece was when almost everyone in Paul Gosar's family ran an ad during his election saying, please do not elect our brother. He's mentally unstable. Okay, these are the guys calling all the world's scientists nutty. I'm not kidding. You can look up the ad. Brothers, sisters, brother after brother, sister after sister going, whatever you do not vote for our brother. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
The standout line was when his dad said, as the father of the son of the father of the geologist. Anyway, yeah, that was a great ad.
And I love the example that he used. You see, you could just study that there's always been climate change in our planet, like when the dinosaurs went extinct and became fossils. Oh wait, that makes the opposite point. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.